What is going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another episode of UnSKripted. I am here this Tuesday night. You know what that means. Listen, man, I usually have my wonderful partner in crime, Bill Atta, but he is away for the past couple of weeks, and I've had a wonderful time last week with my good friend JTG, and this week we've got another pair of guests who has been on here before, and I've talked to these people multiple times, and I really enjoy hanging out with both of these wonderful men, and we're going to have some fun just like we do every time they're on the show. So without further ado, we got a lot to talk about. We've got former WWF announcer Hugo Savinovich, and also Lucha Libre Online's Mike Morales. How are you? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Awesome, brother. Thank you for having us. We also miss Bill Apter as well, man. Hope to see him soon.
Indeed. But hey, man, I don't miss. Of course, he's a legend. He's a national treasure. But back in the day, I used.
He has a lot of voices, man.
Yes, he does. He does. Back in the day, man, when I used to bring in guests every week before Bill Apter was my permanent co-host, I would bring in guests every week and all types of wrestlers. And both of y'all were part of my lineup before, and it was fun. And I had a good time talking to y'all, and y'all been on the show plenty of times, multiple times, I think twice, if I'm not mistaken. So it's always a pleasure to have both of y'all on the show. So let's dive into some stuff. We got some fun things to talk about. Let's start out with, come on, we can't bury the lead here, folks. We got the Vince McMahon documentary that just came out last week. Hugo, you worked for a long time, very, very closely with Vince McMahon. Based on the documentary, do you think it was a fair representation of the Vince McMahon as a boss? What do you think?
No, I think they had beautiful produced uh, visuals, but the essence of Vincent Kennedy McMahon was like left out. They were more interested in selling the villain of Mr. McMahon, and I don't have a problem with that if they were given at least 10 more minutes of a reality check of Vince and other stories that will kind of see the point. It was like this didn't happen in 2024. Back then, even before they had WWF had its own plane. I mean, I remember doing a great pay-per-view, and he opened up a bottle of Jack Daniels, and he take the same sip. Then Shane, and then from Kurt Angle to Lesnar, everybody would take a sip, and I will see him wrestling with Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar 37,000 feet in midair. That was the craziness that I saw. And after one big event in Hartford, Connecticut, Carlos Cabrera and I were coming back to pick up our cars at the studio in Stamford, and out of nowhere we hear, and it's one of the luxury cars that Vince had, and he looks at Carlos, and it looks like one of those young rebel guys, or two young rebel guys in those movies, and boom, here he goes, Carlos, La Voz Cabrera, and Vincent Kennedy McMahon, like two little kids going, and of course Carlos is going like 125, and this is like ridiculous, but that's my boss right there. That's Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and this is my partner. The Spanish announcers are raising with the owner of this big company, and it's just part of the craziness that I think that we missed out on that. And of course, he gave me a second chance when I was in jail after I was doing drugs and alcohol and all that crap, and nobody wanted me back except him, Linda, Shane, and Stephanie. So, and Victor Quinones, he was the WWF Latino, like the president. And so to me, I worked out of a handshake my first month out of his mansion where I had the long hair, the earrings that were like Roman centurions, and another earring that was a star with two biceps, and there was a ruby in the middle, and I had all the chains, and before Eddie Guerrero had the mullet, I had that. That was like my signature of the Muñecazo in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. And he said, if I hire you, the hair has to go, the chains are going to have to go, suit and tie, and of course those earrings got to go. And he gave me the handshake, and I was used to like be soft on the handshake. He said, no. When you really mean it, shake hard, because that means man to man. That is honest. It's not a fake thing. So I met a guy that was beginning to construct a powerhouse, an empire, and the construction of our creative team, because I went there not as an announcer or a commentator. He brought me in to be a producer and part of the creative team. And the creative team back then was only Pat Patterson, Bruce Pritchard, Vince, and myself. That was it. And assistants were Shane and Stephanie, and that was it. That was the empire, and we would work. I was in charge of all the new clients from Russia, Korea, and all of that. Bring them in or whatever they did, video conference, whatever, and teach them how to produce and teach the talent, the psychology of the product of WWF, WWE.
Michael, what do you think about the documentary as far as how they depicted Vince McMahon? Do you think it was balanced, or do you think it was a little lopsided?
To me, initially, it opened the heart of a billionaire that had a wall of steel in front of him that nobody could surpass it. Like him telling the story about him growing up on the place he did, a very low income place back then, with an abusive stepfather, with a mom that just did not, back then care for him, just for her own well-being, and his excitement going after his dad. And hey, I now I understand the last name is McMahon. What is he gonna hug me? Is he gonna kiss me? It's like, hey, kid. Yeah. So it's very raw, very emotional, it allows you to be the real human for the first time ever, I think, because we've been consumed by Mr. McMahon's persona since the 90s so much that we started thinking that that's actually the human. And obviously pro wrestling, it's or in its gimmicks, is that it's like the human with the tone elevated a little bit up. So Hugo met him. Hugo that was a reality as well, but we never had the opportunity to, like, from the psychological part, to see his traumas and understand all the things that his mind was experiencing. Is just fascinating.
Yeah, I looked at
I'll
it
give you.
from a
I'll interrupt you
psychological.
guys
Go
before I
ahead,
forget.
Hugo.
Before I
Go ahead,
forget,
man.
I
Go ahead.
have to tell you. Uh, just like when he was with us, we could be working 2 weeks on a character, on a storyline, and he would sit down at 8 o'clock in the morning. We had to be at his mansion in Starlight in Connecticut, Greenwich, and then he would sit, look at it, and he wore like the glasses that you finally got to see on a couple of scenes on its TV network. But he would look at it, study it, and then he said, don't like it. That was it. 2 weeks went by. That's why I get so upset when I see, sorry for the word, crap on storylines, because before it was like you really had to earn your salary as a creative, because he will take no prisoners. But he would not take, usually, unless it was, something very important, his wife, because his wife is also, Linda, it's like many people think it's just Vince creative, but that lady has a lot to do with the success of where Vince got to. But one time, the secretary, my secretary, interrupted us and said, Vince, you got a phone call. He said, well, I'm busy. We have this pay-per-view. It's Ernie Ladd. And he took it. And then he was like transformed. And Ernie would talk to him. And like, we were just like watching. And like 10 minutes after, he hangs up and he looks at us like a little kid that has been given toys in Christmas. And Ernie says, Jesus loves me. Because at that time, Ernie was preaching the word of God. But this is the guy that is the big enchilada of WWF. And he took the phone call of Ernie the Cadillac. And like for 10 minutes, it was like little kid, just you could see his expression. And then he looked at us, Patterson, Pritchard, and myself. And he said, Ernie says, Jesus loves you. And then we kept on doing our stuff. But that was the kind of guy. I think Bruce Pritchard, when he said that, he was very unhappy with it, he says, what about when my wife was supposed to die of cancer and Vincent Kelly McMahon helped me, and 24 years later, she's alive. And I could tell you, like, we could be here for 2 hours telling you the stories. I'm one of those stories. Nobody wanted me. I was hooked with the wrong people, drugs, alcohol, gambling. And he took a chance with me because Kevin Dunn didn't want me, Jim Ross didn't want me, Bruce Pritchard didn't want me, Pat Patterson didn't want me. Nobody wanted me except his family and Victor Quinones. And I couldn't blame him because I was, like they said, because they're going to try to get Hugo and they're going to kill somebody from us. But he took a chance. And even though they renewed my contract after 17 years there, I kept my promise because I said to him on the handshake, this time a strong handshake, I said, I'll keep my word and you'll never have to worry. And that was done. So that's the man that I knew, and I know, and I could have, when they didn't renew my contract, I knew there was a lot of people against me. I was already a pastor, and I was like a different kind of people around others. And they were also like jealous because I was like one of the few that, even though I started producing and being an all-air talent, Vince would come in and I would tell, he was like 2 minutes later, I would say to him, well, Vince, what the heck do you think? You think you're the owner of this place? And he would stop with Carlos and I, and we would joke and everything. Those were the moments that I got to see. And I was telling, when we talked about this, that there's other stories that were not told. Like when Nails tried to kill him, at his office, we would have never seen Mr. McMahon because that big dude was just about seconds from killing McMahon. So I think they could have had more sensational stuff, documentaries or docuseries. You want that explosion, but I think that, and that's why he didn't return after this big scandal. Why would you return? And we found out that he was trying to buy it, and later I reported that Kevin Dunn and him are trying to answer that, and anybody would be upset if you were pointed as that monster of Mr. McMahon without really saying that where we are at the wrestling business, I said like 90% of the success, you got to give it to Vince, Linda, the McMahon family, because whatever TKO does now, it is afterwards. You know, this was the guy that risked everything. And back then, he beat the federal government twice when they took him to court. So he's no stranger to challenges. But in this era, that I think that what they wanted to do was just bury the image of Vince. So WWE and TKO could come in on January, and they have already killed this monster. But I got news, Dr. Chris and lawyer Mike. I don't think that's going to happen. I think somehow Vince or Kevin Dunn, or somehow this has not been the last we heard from Vince McMahon or from Mr. McMahon.
I can see that. I think it's important, because I'm a PhD in psychology, so that's what I do on a daily basis. So I was looking at the documentary from a psychological standpoint. I see a lot of breakdown that I can do and I have done on my Pancakes and Power Slam show psychologically, just as far as just the quest, the lifelong quest. I would even say a part of it is still there to prove himself to his dad, and just the abandonment and just the just what like you said, you use that situation, Michael, when Vince saw his dad, for the first time, and he just kind of pat on the back, hey kid, just whoa, what a way to pop the balloon, what I mean? Like and stuff like that, just that quest to really prove himself to his father. And that's very common. That's a very common thing. Kids want to prove themselves to their fathers. And I think with Vince, he became a very successful businessman because he understood how to survive. He grew up in situations where he needed to survive, where he needed to either fight or flight. He chose to fight. He's a fighter, and you can tell that Vince McMahon is a fighter, and he's been a fighter, and he really channeled that and used it in a business aspect, and was able to grow $1 billion corporation. I think under that, though, the more you peel that, the more you see a wounded and broken soul. I think that, from a psychologically and emotionally, you can compartmentalize the emotional part of Vince McMahon from the business or the occupational part of Vince McMahon. I think that the documentary really showed that. I think it really showed a separation between the business successful and the hurt, wounded Vince McMahon that still was proving himself to his dad, which reflected on Shane, proving himself to Vince when he had that match, with Taker giving him that big hug. He really passed he really passed down the line of, I had to prove myself to my dad, therefore my son, has to prove himself to me. And I think you saw that. What do y'all think about that?
My take point about that, obviously, it's Stephanie got everything respectfully, handled in the silver platter. She was the billionaire's daughter. She was his baby. She was the person that he wanted to succeed, to say it that way. Mm-hmm. Shane didn't have the same route. Analyze a simple birthday post on Twitter or X from Shane McMahon, like, hey, happy birthday, Shane. Today's birthday, Stephanie McMahon, yada, 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 the whole resume and everything, and all hyping, flowers and candles, and everything is beautiful. And Shane was just there. He was lying. He was breaking his butt, his back, his head, his life. Yeah. Like that fall from up there in SummerSlam when Steve Blackman hit him with that candlestick, heck, that must have hurt a lot. The belly to belly or belly to back.
The King of the Ring match,
Angle, the concussion. It didn't work the first time. His head knocked on the floor, and he stand up again. Let's do it again. And Curtis, like, you're a billionaire's kid. What the hell are you doing? Again. And it's this type of things all over again that reflects on the way of him running the company. He was not desperate, but he was pushing everyone to earn his affection, to earn his respect, to earn his trust. you need to earn the boss's confidence, to say it this way. And it was for everyone. It was for Triple H, it was for Shawn Michaels, it was Bret the Hitman Hart, but it was future generations like Batista, John Cena, among many others. And he was this paternal figure among the whole company that was neglected his whole line of quote unquote wrestling childs or wrestling children.
Yeah, my question to you, Hugo, is working so close to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon made it clear on the documentary that like no one really knows who he is. You know, even those who work close with it, no one really knows who Vince McMahon is. How much of Vince did he show himself to someone like you who he worked close with? And how much of, even knowing Vince for so long, for 30 years, Hugo, how much of Vince are you still like, I don't think I know Vince as much as I think I do?
Wow, it's like before I even started working for him, when I started working for him, he let me have Marcos, his personal driver, a Brazilian guy. Love him. I always prayed for him. He was such a gentleman. He let me have his driver for the first 2 weeks, and then I got the rental car. My first month, just a handshake to see if it made sense us working, because I was already successful. Puerto Rico at one point, for a small island, I mean, we were drawing more than Vince's father's territory. We were drawing more than NWA big cities, AWA or World Class. We were kicking butt, drawing like 25,000 National Stadium, because we did English too. So the first time that he wanted to hire me, I said no, because between working for Bacardi or Medalla, I used to do the arm wrestling, the bikini contest, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was getting paid like on the weekends and whatever I made for Capital Sports that later became World Wrestling Council. And I was making so much money that and short trips in the island that I did not want to commit myself again to the wild trips, because it was mostly car trips. Not like now, they're usually everything is on a plane. So I said no. And then the second time was when Wendy, she was my wife, Wendy Richter, was the champion. He wanted me to start. And I said to Vince, and it was like a long story because I was doing drugs. I had my own bar, my own drink, and illegal gambling in one of the roughest areas in Puerto Rico, and Martillo, a tough referee with a lot of history in Puerto Rico's wrestling. He was my partner, and I had from the legal gambling, no drugs at the place. I mean, you could consume it in the bathroom, but there was no selling. Nobody would get mugged in my place. I would count money on the outside. Nobody would touch me. And it was kind of like at that moment, Savio and Brett in Germany, they said, hey, Savio says to Brett, one of his first matches was with me in the ring in Puerto Rico. He hates that picture. He's like, I wanted to see the rib cage, very skinny Bret Hart. So Savio says to Brett, Hugo's, he's like in a dangerous place. Boom, boom, boom. He's doing the bar. He's doing illegal this, all like that. And they talked to Vince, and I closed the bar like 4:30 in the morning. There's Billy Mack, and I think it's Luke Williams from the Bushwhackers, because he will do these imitations, impersonations. But after 50 minutes, Luke never said, "This is Luke, mate," because we had a saying that said knee pads. I mean, you're talking about weird stuff that went through.
Are you going to reveal the knee pad story? Are you sure about that?
No, I don't want to reveal it.
No,
you could figure it out. We did some crazy stuff. But anyway, I said, this is not Luke. And Vince says, no, this is Vince McMahon. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Luke. And that's what he said to me. Come down, and for a month, we'll see if it works together. But before I said to him, no, because I said, if something, look at that, like a futuristic, prophetic word. I said, if something happens that we don't get along and I'm married to your champion, you will fire the two of us. And guess what? I didn't go with him, but then that was the first screw job, not in Montreal. And then he talks about it on that. And what he didn't say was the actual thing that happened there was he had promised Wendy a better contract, and she didn't get it. But it was not mainly because Vince wanted to do. A lot of people think that it was Vince in charge of everything, But there was the other guys, the accountants, and all of that. And then it's like, okay, you gave the Ultimate Warrior that much money. You cannot give that person that much because this is the budget that we have. So when Wendy was saying, before I let the belt go, I need you to fulfill your promise of a better contract. And he said later, and she didn't trust him. And that was the story of the screw job. But I was right. If I would have gone with him, probably with the two of us, we would have lost our jobs. And at least I was able to sustain that money situation, even though Wendy did make a lot of money. But at the time, that was that. But after that, I came working for him, knowing that at a point on MTV when wrestling was hot with MTV, the same night that Wendy and Hulk Hogan and Cindy and Roddy Piper, Captain Lou Albano were on, the big guy in MTV said, you got to go more, because it was like a huge success. People were standing outside of the MTV thing in Manhattan, and they told Vince, we got to go longer, at least 15 minutes. And Wendy had to catch a plane so she could marry me in south of the border in the Carolinas. And she rushed out, and there was Marcos, his driver, and Vince. And he was running with her luggage through the LaGuardia airport so she couldn't miss the flight to marry me. So that's the other side that I knew of Mr. McMahon, or Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So I have a different take, and he was demanding, but I never saw him, and we spent so much time together. I never heard him or Pat or Bruce talk about something, the girls this or the girls that. Never. And we had some private conversations where it was just Vince and I. Do I have secrets? Yes. Are they secrets that have to do with the scandal? No. I have secrets of a lot of other people that did stuff that could have gotten me in a lot of trouble, and they loved me because I didn't use that to get their jobs. I have always believed that whatever I'm going to get in life is because I deserve it, not because I buried somebody. And this was a witness. I saw Stephanie and Triple H when they didn't say this on documentary. The truth was that after the scandal with China was saying that Stephanie came through in this relationship, and that wasn't the case. They had her, she wanted to get married. Triple H was not ready at the time, and we were there to see the whole story. And when that scandal broke, he told Triple H and Stephanie, hey, no more. You guys got to cut it out. That was never stated there, but that did happen. And like 3 or 4 months after they got together, Triple H and Stephanie had said to him, okay, if you fire me, you fire me. And she said, this is the man I love. And that's the story where he finally accepted it. But that wasn't told us. That's what gets me upset, because I believe that there was more things that people would have been interested. Like I said, the nail story, the one of the scandal of Matt Hardy, Edge, Lita. There was Dr. Chris. There was stuff there that were beautiful. They did not need to bury Vince because, first of all, I think that the Constitution of the United States, which now I'm a citizen, for a while. I'm Ecuadorian, but I'm a citizen. And this country says you're innocent until proven guilty. And I think this freaking docuseries, what it did at the end was like not help him at all. And I know you're not supposed to help, but you should not bury him. And I think that's what they did. They're like, oh, he didn't come in, or this interview was done prior to this. Like they were implying like he was like scared to sit down. And I don't think he was scared. I think that they treated him wrong. And I think probably his lawyer said, hey, don't go there, because everything you say on that is going to probably be used in court if it goes to court. I don't know what the grand jury is going to do or whatever. But to somebody like me that spent 17 years with him, like every day, like 8 o'clock in the morning, from the mansion to the old WWE headquarters. And to me, that was like so romantic, because there was the neon lights at the gym. And if you will hit the gym when Triple H will come in with Vince, they will kick your butt, because you will have to work like those monsters do, and they don't take prisoners. And I'm just like, an ex-warrior that did my 20 years in the ring. I'm all beat up. I don't have their bodies, and they put me through an hour of workout that it was. But those were the moments that I saw him cry on some occasions where something happened, and I was there when when we were at ringside when Owen Hart died. So for them to try to say like he didn't care, yes he did. But if something was to happen to me as an ex wrestler and I'm at the table, doing the play by play, I would love for them to just have the best show and kick butt and make me feel proud that I went doing what I love to do. And so to me, to be able to say that or to kind of hint that he didn't care, the show must go on. It was tough. And after it ended, I saw him cry. I saw giants cry. It was like a cemetery. I was there. So all this other crap, they can't convince me of that because I was in the intimacy of seeing Vincent Kennedy McMahon as a father, as a businessman. And I think I told Lawyer Mike, my brother, vice president of Lucha Libre Online, that one time I had an incident with Lex Luger, that he didn't want to do a promo, and we only had like 45 minutes against the Tatanka. I had no problem with the Tatanka. I settled everything with him and Blackjack Lance, then I was in charge of producing that. I went to talk to the other talent. I don't remember who was with me that was going to produce that. And I said to Lex Luger, this is what Vince proved that he wanted you to say. And he looked at my face and said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I said, Lex, you got like 45 minutes. We got to do this. And he looked at my face and he said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I repeated it one more time. I said, listen, the tank is already doing it. I have the producer here. This is what Vince wants. This is what I want. And he said, no. I said, you leave me no choice. I'm going to have to go. And he just smiled, like laughed. And I went to Vince and I said, I'm sorry that I have to, come and bother you here. But Lex doesn't want to do the promo. And he got hot. He hit the table and he said, next time, Hugo, somebody disobeys an order. I don't care who she is. Just fired him or her on the spot. Because that means that whatever I said as the boss to do, they refuse to do, and you're representing me. So if they don't want to do it, fire their ass. I'm going to say that word. I don't use it, but I'm going to say it at this time. And he went in, said, follow me. He went in and talked to Lex for less than 2 minutes. I heard big, the boys went like this. And then he said, okay. And he looked at me with those fiery eyes, and Vince says to me, Hugo, this will never happen again. Somebody says no after I gave the yes, that person is fired, and then just come and tell me that person got fired. That's the Vince that I know. So I don't have time right now to hear these prima donnas now that not everybody, but some of them love their bodies, their Instagram, their Facebook accounts, and they get hurt out of, like, you will know a lot of times, Chris, if they're going to lose, or I don't want to use the other word because so many people insult our profession with the word joggers and all that crap. I don't think they respect us, and I hate when the boys use that term, that you could know. You could sense who's going to lose because their face, shows that they're just going to do that because they're forced to do it, not because they love the passion, not because they understand the psychology, not because this is something they respect the fact. It's just because their ego is hurt and the boss said, you got to do it, and they're going to do it. And if you're in some other place, they even act worse. And Mike will tell you, I don't care where you are, I don't care how big you are. If we're going to do something, I will ask you to do it. And if you don't want to do it, that's it. We will not do business. Again, I don't care if you're my friend, if you are the toughest son of a gun in the whole world, or if you are the number one female, talent. I will not work with you again because I believe I'm still old school and I believe in respect. And I think Vince did that. So whatever happens will happen in court if it does take there. But I don't think you could erase what we do. We are right now talking with Dr. Chris on Sportskeeda with our vice president of Lucha Libre Line. And guess who we're talking about? We're talking about Vince. We're not talking about the debut of NXT or CW. We're not talking of the company sold for $9 billion. Guess what? We're still talking about Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah. Mike, as we close, take us, school us through the legal process of what this is looking like now as a lawyer. So right now, there's a federal investigation with Vince McMahon. The Janelle Grant case has actually been shelved for a second as this federal investigation is going on. What does this look like from a legal standpoint for just a common person interested in knowing what this is going to look like as far as just where this could lead to?
So this is again. I'm gonna say this publicly without a problem. This does not represent the opinion of Lucha Libre Online specifically. This is my point of view as an attorney, plainly. The person that drafted or requested Vince McMahon's head, basically. I'm talking about Miss Grant particularly and her attorney. They've done an outstanding work in public relations and demonizing Vince McMahon and making him little and smaller and smaller and smaller every single time. And now he's publicly, quote unquote, weak, vulnerable. As part of that civil investigation, to say it that way, they developed a federal investigation because obviously the things that were stated in that draft, there are crimes in the United States, and no private party pact between two humans will go over the United States Constitution and law. Period. That's it. Hugo can request me legally to buy a gun in Texas and kill him because he feels it that way, but they're gonna present me with charges. Same goes with this situation. Vince and her had a private agreement that was settled or supposed to be settled privately through mediation. If the accusations are true and proven true in the court of law of the United States, it doesn't look pretty at all. We're talking about several years in jail. We're talking about, and this might be the quote, this is P. Diddy's wrestling version, unfortunately, through another version or standpoint, to say it that way. If proven true, there's a lot of years going, through this situation. Do I think Vince McMahon will touch prison? Hell no. He defeated the federal government twice already without any complications, and in a more complicated scenario in a different era. Everyone hated him just as they do now. The whole government had like this witchcraft, a witch hunt against him and WWE for the steroid ring situation that was discussed pretty good in the documentary, I think. This is the equivalent of a quote-unquote prostitution ring that they were allegedly stating that he ran and used these people as sex traffic victims. This is some serious accusations we're talking about. And a single doubt on a jury's mind will kill the whole process, because the criminal accusation needs to be proof. There can't be a little doubt in there. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be completely believe. Everything needs to fit. And if it doesn't by 1 inch, 1 centimeter, your case is gone.
Unanimous.
And that's the situation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me hit you guys with what we reported today in Lucha Libre Online. Brock Lesnar is on the active roster again of WWE. So how is he back or has been in the middle of this documentary and everything? A man that is like a key part of the prostitution or whatever, like they're claiming that in order to sell you a contract or for you to sign, you will get a body, for not using the other word. And I just feel like something happened lately that WWE, or now TKO, which is UFC and WWE, somehow finds that it's the right moment to bring Brock, because the moment you have him announced officially, you watch Dr. Chris and my vice president Brother Mike, that we're going to hear more about what Brock's name is mentioned because scandal, that's what it is. But to me, something has happened where TKO feels that Brock could be back. That's my take on that too.
Very interesting. Well, there's definitely to be continued. There's so much more left in this big saga of Vince McMahon. There's so much more to be. I mean, there could be six more parts, within this Vince McMahon series. So we shall see how this unfolds. All right, let's start. Let's do a quick plug, Hugo. Lucha Libre Online. You are doing your thing over there. Let them know where to find you, my man.
Yeah, Lucha Libre Online and in close to Miami on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It's in English. I'm doing a Christian conference with some big, beautiful people, and it will be announced at Lucha Libre Online. And I'm going to close by just saying it's a shame that it didn't concentrate on the China story of that documentary. They missed out on so many things. I'm going to shut my mouth now because we could go another hour with this. But that's it. Lucha Libre Online, over 2,300,000 followers, and we reach about 43 million every month. We are real. It has cost me millions of dollars because I don't kiss butt. Not Vince, not Tony Khan, not the company. I'm a free agent, by the way, now. I love AAA, but I'm also a free agent because I am what you see that I am, and I don't sell out. And this is why we have success in Lucha Libre Online. And we love coming with you and participating because you're so passionate. It freaks me out that you are a doctor and then that our vice president is a very successful federal lawyer, yet the two guys are here with me in this crazy, passionate lucha.
Thank you, Hugo. Always a pleasure, man. Mr. Attorney, let us know where to find you, my man. Also the vice president of Lucha Libre Online.
Chris, appreciate the time and the space always, man. Grateful to be here as well, along with a living legend like Hugo. Love you, my brother. Riju, un abrazo, my brother. Appreciate you as always, man. You can find us at Lucha Libre Online. We're available on Instagram, Twitter, or X, Twitter X, or whatever you want to call it. That's another controversy. Facebook, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, we're everywhere. I'm also working with the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico, and I don't know which role at this point. I do like a lot of things.
Very upset with the World Wrestling Council. They're doing like a Tony Khan big mistake with Cinco Estrellas, a true star. They turned him heel, and they are burying him, and I'm so upset because this guy could be the equivalent of a Roman Reigns for Puerto Rico wrestling, and Rey Gonzalez, Eddie Colon, this guy here too, he's also responsible, and Victor Javica, they don't see, they have a freaking gold mine, and this guy looks legit. By the way, the only Puerto Rican mentioned in our friends After's 500, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with the company. This guy is good, and I think that he could be the guy that brings food to the table of many, many people in the World Wrestling Council. I'm very upset about that.
He has main evented 3 anniversary shows in a row, longest reigning champion in the history of the Universal title. So yeah, I definitely agree with all things that Hugo said, and I love that about him. He will not reserve a thing. I'm his buddy. He's my brother, and he will directly tell me to my face what you did.
And you too. When I worked with AAA and you didn't like Triple Mania,
that's the thing.
He would write about it. That's it.
There you go.
That's
yes.
it.
Go check that out on Lucha Libre Online. We got Hugo Savinovich at Lucha Libre Online without the E. Follow them. Go ahead and hit that follow button. Go to Lawyered by Mike, my guy, Michael Morales Torres. I am Dr. Chris. Follow me at Chris Prolific. This is UnSKripted. Have a good night, everybody. So
Yeah,